Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined daily by Bobby Burton and the very festive Jerry Hamilton this morning. Get a close-up on that real quick. What you got going on
What
there?
is that? Christmas is starting early. I figured since the Texas secondary was in the giving mood Saturday, I would be too today.
Oh,
A win. I'm happy with very excited about the win. I'm feeling festive. It's the off week. That's the bye week, right? We're handing out NIL deals this week.
You know what it looks like, Jerry, to me? It looks like to me that you got a leftover Halloween gift.
This is an HEB here. Everything's better special from yesterday.
There we go.
Well, let's talk about the game, guys. Obviously, Texas pulls away 34-31, but not after some, I guess, fourth quarter drama is what we can call it. But let's get y'all's final thoughts.
Look, Arch Manning came to play. She shook off the cobwebs of a concussion. If he had a concussion, you couldn't tell it by the second quarter. I mean, he was on the mark from there on. Absolutely fantastic performance by Manning and the Texas offense as a whole. Pass protection was easily the best it's been all season long. That includes not only inserting Cole Hudson at left guard and keeping Connor Robertson at center, but also Trey Wisner, I thought, stepped up in pass protection, as did the tight ends. It was just a full-on effort from the offense. Texas did not punt until the fourth quarter, Jerry. They have been on a little bit of a roll starting in the fourth quarter there at Mississippi State into the fourth quarter here at Vanderbilt. Texas offense did not punt. It was quite amazing and definitely a sight for sore eyes for people who, like ourselves, have been waiting for this offense to gel. It finally did on Saturday.
Yeah, so kind of off of what Bobby said, I thought one of the things going into this game that had to happen, and I think it did happen, was Vanderbilt couldn't establish any running back run game. And the Texas pass rush, we talked about all week, they had matchups going into this game. All you had to do was watch the Missouri game, who has really good pass rushers on their defensive front. Both edges were winning against the tackles, and Vanderbilt's right guard had issues. All three of those things happened Saturday. I mean, Texas had 6 sacks, and if not for egregious holds, probably would have had 10 in that game, right? I mean, they have issues in pass pro. They're really good run blockers. They have issues in pass pro. And then on the flip side, look, it was Arch Manning's best game of his career at Texas. And the great thing about that game for Arch, it wasn't that it was coming off the concussion, although I agree that was put him in an adverse situation all week. That was back-to-back. Even though it may have been a quarter and a half, that's still back-to-back games where you saw Arch build on for the first time this season. And I think that's really big. He's building now in a positive direction because all season it was up, down, up, down, up, down. And now he's had 2 solid games in a row in which he's built on it. And I think that's really good. I'm going to continue to say this. I think A.J. Milwee moving to the booth is going to be something that's not going to be talked about enough, that is, because I think he is in the eyes in the sky for Sark, and I think they have a good relationship in terms of A.J. knowing what Sark wants and looking for. And instead of A.J. being on the bench after an offensive possession going through the iPad with Arch, he's now up in the box hunting the next possession and having those discussions. I think that's really big for this offense. I think Emmett Mosley's return, while we're not saying he's Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams, what he brings to this team, maybe nobody else can. He's the best perimeter blocker. He is probably the best 50-50 ball winner. So he is bringing you something on offense that you sorely needed and you didn't have the first 4 games, and then you tried to build into that at Florida. Defensively, obviously, Texas leads the nation in sacks now. We'll get to that. Obviously, the secondary issues, Rod talked about that last night from the game. There's going to have to be some improvement tackling in space against Georgia in 2 weeks, I believe. That could be an issue. But the safety's getting healthier, obviously missing your 2 starters, and not just 2 starters in that game. Jelani McDonald's having an amazing season. he's turned himself into a guy that may have to go pro after this year because his draft stock may be that high. And Michael Taft is your communicator. They missed a lot in that game when Jelani went out, already having Taft out. But the good job, the good part is you won. Filson got the most experience he's ever had. Safety spot in the game over an extended period of time. So that's a learning experience for him. But all in all, Texas is 7-2. And now everything is right there in front of them. First college football playoff ranking comes out Tuesday. We're going to get to this AP poll bull crap later, but the college football playoff will not be reflective like the AP poll is, in my opinion.
Hope not. Because being ranked behind Oklahoma after beating them 4 weeks ago by 2 scores on a neutral site, give me a break. I think just more people saw that nighttime game against Tennessee than saw Texas beat Vanderbilt and then looked up at the final score, because that game was not close until the fourth quarter. Texas was beating up Vanderbilt pretty handily. Texas offense kind of motored down a little bit to try to just get the game over with. Vanderbilt came roaring back. Some breakdowns in the secondary, like Jerry mentioned. The other thing that I would go on and I want to talk about now is how this Texas team, Jerry and Blake, is. I mean, they're on a 4-game win streak right now. That's tied for the 3rd best in the SEC. A&M and Alabama are undefeated in the SEC, but only Texas and Georgia have 4-game win streaks or more right now. And we talk about consistency, and Jerry used that term. I think it's the consistency of effort they're giving, even when they make mistakes or there's an abomination, like the fourth quarter defense against Vanderbilt or like the offense in Lexington. They're still fighting through those things, right? They did have a couple of first downs in the fourth quarter running the ball. And you know what I mean? So it wasn't like they just went out to lunch. They still kept it in a situation and probably should have scored another time if it weren't for a missed field goal, if it weren't for a non-call pass interference in the end zone that was clearly one. I felt like Texas is finding ways to win, and that is the sign of a team that is learning how to win. Because football is, everybody wants to go, oh, well, they should have done this. And football's a messy sport, man. You can win it any different way. You know what I mean? And when you're finding a way to do it, it speaks to your team. It speaks to the character of it. And Sark likes to use the term culture. I would use the term spine. I mean, your team has a spine. You didn't know that really going into this year because there's so many new faces. I mean, 23 draft picks over the last 2 years. This is a young team, and they're showing a know-how and a spine that maybe is more than some people expected, certainly more than some people expected at the beginning of the year after a couple of losses to Ohio State and Florida.
Hey, before we move on too much further, we got a super chat here from Jeff Calloway. It says, give y'all's take on the 2-point conversion call, the delay of game penalty on Simmons, and what you think was the cause of our fourth quarter meltdown. Hook 'em.
The non-PI call on Emmett Mosley, which was blatant too, by the way.
There were multiple.
Yeah.
So the delay out of those, the delay of game penalty on Simmons is automatic. He clapped. Can't do that on defense. Automatic call. Totally fine with that. The 2-point conversion call, I don't know what to tell y'all. I mean, y'all saw it just as well as I did. And to Jerry's point, the guy's clearly tugging Emmett Mosley's jersey in the end zone.
And the line judge has the clear side of it.
Two different officials should have made that call, to Jerry's point, not just one. Then I would add in this. How about on 4th and 6th, Texas lines up to go for it, and Vanderbilt jumps offside, so Texas moves, yet they confer and decide, oh, well, no, that's illegal procedure on Texas. Boy, that's the wrong angle, though, Jerry.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's the wrong angle? I mean, look, if it's the wrong angle, there wouldn't be any space between the ball and the pylon at that point.
It's unbelievable. And that's the thing that gets me is the call. These are eyes right there on the play. These aren't guys that are chasing a play, that are maybe out of position and their eyes aren't where they should be. These are right there in front of them, not in the wash in the tackle box. These are plays in space where your eyes are sitting there right there on the play. And as somebody who doesn't like what's going on in sports right now, I don't trust anything. I've said it last night. And everybody's giving me a reason not to trust what I see, and I don't. And look, there have been games that's gone Texas way too. By the way, I'm not sitting up here whining for Texas. You can look back over the years. But somebody brought up in the chat last night that was the worst officiated game for Texas since the 2015 Oklahoma State game. I'd say that's probably accurate.
It was rough.
By the way, yes, Sailor Joe. This gets back to something, Bobby, we were talking about. We need to get Tom Luganbill on here. SEC needs to do what ACC does with flag reviews. They also look. They have to. The SEC is going to have to make a major change after this year. After this season, they're going to be left with no choice, in my opinion. They have to have full transparency, like the ACC does on replays. They're going to have televised on the screen the conversations in the replay booth and why they're upholding calls, changing calls. There has to be full transparency because we're getting to the point where outside of Georgia, nobody believes what's going on from a fan base. Everybody's questioning it all. So they're going to have to make a change in the offseason.
And it's easily applicable. I mean, if the ACC can do it, the SEC certainly can too as well. All right, I need to say thank you to our sponsors of Monday's Coffee and Football every Monday. It is sponsored by Longhorn Wealth Management, John Donovan. John's a proud UT alum whose wife and 6 siblings are all UT grads. It's his family passion for UT that led John to create his firm, Longhorn Wealth Management, over and dedicated to providing investment, retirement, insurance, and estate planning services and solutions to Longhorn families and friends across the nation. John and his wife enjoyed the big win over Vanderbilt last Saturday. I saw him in the pregame at the tailgate. They're excited to see what Sark, Arch, and the improving O-line can achieve in 2 weeks at Georgia. Meanwhile, John wants to celebrate the Horns' 4-game winning streak by offering all OTF fans a free 90-minute private consultation with John to learn how working with a certified financial planner can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. Call John and the Longhorn Wealth Team, 972-707-4900, or go online, www.longhornwealth.net, to schedule your free 90-minute private consultation today. Book them from John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group.
All right, we're going to have Marcus Myers join us here in just a moment. First, I want to read this super chat from David Vaughn. He says, today is my birthday. I'm drinking black coffee while I'm at work, and today I'm glad I root for the Longhorns. Hook 'em, baby. Well, David, thanks for joining us, and happy birthday to you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, David. Happy birthday, buddy.
And then one other comment before we get to Marcus, this one from Derek Smith this morning. He says, good afternoon, morning, OTF. It's amazing how much better Arch and play calling looks when the O-line plays well, LOL, he says. No coincidence that Sark is labeled an offensive guru by the entire football world. Hookle.
I tell you what, he's changed up his play calling. CJ and Rod have both documented it, not just, anecdotally, but from a tactical standpoint and numbers and sense standpoint. He is definitely moving more to 11 personnel right now as opposed to 12. He's asking fundamentally less of his offensive line in some way because they don't have to account for as many people in the box when you take another tight end out of the box. So it simplifies their look. The move to what we call 11 personnel, which is 1 running back and 1 tight end, as opposed to 1 running back and 2 tight ends, has definitely helped. He's also, I don't know if y'all have noticed this as well, but he's also moving the receivers outside of the box more frequently now. They're starting out more as true receivers as opposed to try to hide them in the H-back spot or, what used to be called the old wing back area. Again, that takes creates more clarity for the offensive linemen and allows them to figure out their pass protection. But it's absolutely working, and we'll see if it works against Georgia, because Georgia's a different animal, in my opinion, than Mississippi State or Kentucky or Vanderbilt.
And
the reason pretty well against Texas handled an Oklahoma defense that's pretty good. But let's see if it works against Georgia, because that, as everybody knows, that's the ultimate test on defense, I think, in the SEC. It truly is.
Yeah, I mean, because they're linebackers. Their linebackers are the best that Texas will face all year. There are 4 of them. They're athletic. The thing about it, too, is the 11 personnel, if you go back to last year's game, the horizontal passing game doesn't normally yield the same results against Georgia, because their linebackers close space so fast. It's an extra defender that you can't account for. And that's what makes that really difficult. And then the other thing with the Georgia game, we have 2 weeks to talk about it. It's, again, the linebackers. Those guys are going to be hammering the A gaps against Texas. And so the personnel of Vanderbilt is not close to the personnel of Georgia. So it's going to be a totally different look. It's going to be totally different athleticism, closing on footballs, rushing the passer from the linebacker position. And that's going to be, I think, the key for Texas offenses. Can they handle the linebackers against Georgia in 2 weeks? That's going to be a big, big piece of this. And then on defensively, Texas has tackle in space.
Yeah, defense, Texas has to tackle in space. But I want to say this. I mean, Gunnar Stockton is having a great year.
Yeah.
A great year right now at quarterback for Georgia. They are outscoring people. I mean, they outscored Tennessee. They outscored Ole Miss. They can run it up at times. And so it's not just the defense of Georgia that poses a problem. It's the offense of Georgia that poses a problem in that contest as well. Like Jerry said, we'll be talking a lot about that in the coming week and a half here before Texas heads to Athens to take on the Bulldogs.
All right, guys, let's bring in Marcus Myers, as we do every Monday morning here on Coffee and Football. Good morning, Marcus.
What's going on, fellas? Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing, big guy?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing really well, especially with this weather out here. I got my window open. It's good and chilly. Coming off a nice win this weekend, so no complaints this way.
Hey, congratulations, Marcus, on being being honored during the first quarter of the Vanderbilt game with you and your fellow teammates of the 2005 National Championship team. That had to be a cool moment. You were down there on the field for that first quarter, and Texas really seemed to take it to Vanderbilt early.
Yeah.
Was that just, in your opinion, the energy of the crowd, the energy of returning home? What was it that led Texas to get out to such a fast start on the Commodores?
Yes, all of the above. I think, man, we talked about this, and especially the fact that Arch was fully cleared and able to play. It was almost kind of like they picked up where they left off in the fourth quarter. They found some stuff that worked. Made, a slight adjustment on the offensive line to give him a bit more protection, and, went out there and executed. And I think it's continuing to show, some of Sark's evolution in that he's doing the things that make a bit more sense. As we've talked before, it's not necessarily been me thinking he shouldn't be a play caller. It's been me having some issues with the timing of certain calls. But now what it looks like he's doing is he's doing more of the stuff that works for the guys. If there's been issues throwing the crosser, all right, well, let's just throw a screen real quick and see what happens, and let some of your athletes out in space make some plays. So I was really happy with, how they got started. And they certainly, gave the crowd plenty of reason to stay in it. And then it kind of dovetailed there at the end. We can or don't have to talk about that, but I love how they started. I love how they started. They'll have to do that on the road, which oddly enough, this Georgia team doesn't start all that great. They turn it on late. So, for me, it was a great sign of, potential things to come as you get healthy in this bye week.
Hey, Marcus, we talked, I think Friday live stream, that Texas, and one of the things I've just disagreed with people on this year. I think Texas is very athletic at wide receiver. Actually, I think they're fast. I think they're athletic guys. And we talked about this going into the game, that Texas had advantages against Vanderbilt if they got those guys the ball. Mm-hmm. And we saw Vanderbilt had real issues adjusting to Texas. Ryan Wingo out of the gate, right? missed tackle, bad angle. You saw about 3 or 4 of those, and Clark Lee talked about in the post game. It was something he hadn't really seen much from them this year. So credit that I think Texas is the Texas wideouts is. I mean, these guys are all going to go test really well at the NFL Combine one day. They don't lack speed, athleticism, anything like that. This was the first game for me consistently we saw everybody get the touch of football in a position where then they could do something after the catch.
Yeah, I think, for me, to your point, Jerry, they have, a lot of athleticism. I think my only commentary on it has been, a true like jitterbug guy, right? Yeah. Where if you threw Wingo that ball and he was in a bit of a phone booth, can he, make 3 guys miss at the line and then take it to the house, right? So, but you don't have to have that necessarily if you find the right ways to get these guys the ball. Look, they're getting a lot of chunk plays that are giving them opportunities to run after the catch. And it's amazing when you get a little bit of time, how you're able to step into a throw and continue to build that confidence. That's something you could see from Arch, and I mean, look, I thought it was his best game that we've seen to date, and it's still a relatively small sample size. So it kind of goes back to our points from earlier in the year. Like, people were writing him off too soon. I know, you and I, Jerry, all the time we're sitting here doing it's right here. And I still fully believe that. Yeah. Put 2 great, performances, back to back. He has an opportunity to go out there and do a third. But I mean, the bye week comes at a perfect time where you can continue to look at this stuff and find ways to, scheme, guys open against, what's probably a more gettable Georgia defense than we've seen in recent years.
Hey, go ahead, Bobby.
Well, no, Marcus, my question about this is something that's a little different. That offense now has Ryan Wingo as a big play option. Mm-hmm. That's what Texas had the previous couple of years, whether it was Xavier Worthy or Jaden Blue last year. My question to you is, what kind of stress does that put on a defense? I mean, Jerry's talking about linebackers from Georgia having to get outside to cover that screen. Yeah. How much stress does that put on the defense? And frankly, does that open up some run lanes? Like, Texas did not have a great game running the ball on Saturday, but they were effective running the ball. Ended up with 100 yards. That's good for a Texas team that doesn't run the ball well. Is that part of it, is getting that horizontal game going, that they have to respect a Ryan Wingo with the linebackers to get out there fast so that it opens up the inside a little bit more?
Absolutely. I mean, it puts a lot of stress on a defense the more you begin to put on film. And so now you are seeing repeatedly Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Emmett Mosley coming on. Like, you can't just focus on one thing. And now that they've put, back-to-back 300-yard passing games up on film, that's something that has to be honored. That's something that has to be respected. And the more and more you can do that, it loosens up the box a little bit. And that's something that, gives you an opportunity to make more plays in the run game. And, I continue to feel that, Trey and CJ feed really well off of one another. They both look healthy and spry during the game. Another week of, not having some contact on them, getting some good recovery in is going to pay huge dividends, especially when you're having to travel to Athens. I know that game time hasn't been announced yet, but Bama, Oklahoma is that same day. So, I'll be interested to see. I would suspect, if I had to guess, ours might probably be the night game. I don't know who's in the order of picking, but I think this is more Blake's territory. The spreads came out, and our game is much closer than theirs. I think ours is around 2.5, and that Bama OU game is like 12 or 13, kind of spread. So if you're playing there at night, man, you got to be able to find a way to make some stuff happen. And you've put enough on film now to where Kirby's certainly going to have to respect that and find a way to balance out his approach on how he wants to attack the offense.
Hey, by the way, Georgia has to handle business Saturday for it to be a night game. If they lose to Mississippi State, it'll be the flex. It'll be
that one's an 11 a.m. kick for them, so they kind of get off a little bit there. But did you say, Blake, they already announced the times?
No, what I was going to say is that line actually is from this summer. So that is an old line. The updated Texas Georgia line won't update until Sunday, upcoming Sunday. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
Hey, Marcus, we have a super chat for you. But before that, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Did you feel celebrated or did you feel old Saturday?
Man, both. I saw, you get to start seeing like all your kids' friends, your teammates' sons and stuff. And so there's some that, part of why some of the guys weren't there is their kids had games that day.
Brian Robeson.
Right? B-Rob's son had a game. I think Rakpo's, one of his kids had something going on. And so that was, kind of the bittersweet part about it. We had a little bit later notice than maybe I would have hoped. So for people to be able to plan around it. But then I saw A. Ross's son. I remember when he was born. It kind of blows your mind. But definitely felt, honored. It was really cool, to get back out there. Got to see a lot of the coaches. I saw Coach Chambers, Coach Davis, and then a bunch of, guys from my class. And we actually got Lyle Sinline and I were talking a bit. We're going to try and figure out a way to do something specific for our class and then try to keep some stuff going for the guys that are here in Austin. So it was really great, but yeah, it's different, man. When you start, seeing guys, kids that, you literally remember when they were babies, it's really
that 30-year-old hit different. I know it did for me. It's from high school graduation. The 30 hits you different. Absolutely. When that number changes to 30, it feels different.
And Marcus, that's actually what our super chat's about. I'll give you one guess as to who put this in for you. But Side of Ranch with the super chat says, can that 2 legit 05 Natty team get a hat tip from the North Pole Hustler? Marcus front and center was pretty happy about that game in the stands. And what's up, Blake? So this is from our
one guess. That's John Luton, I bet. that's my man. But yeah, it was great, man, and we had a really good time with it. Had a time to spend with one another before we went out, and it was really cool. It was a good day. We had a good day.
Good stuff.
It looked fun out there with you. I saw him paying over, and I said, "Hey, there's Marcus." During the broadcast, I was there. The other question, Marcus, as we look at this team, and we were talking about it earlier, 4 straight wins, right? In this season, they're finding a variety of ways to win, whether that's goal line stand against Kentucky, a punt return against Kentucky and OU, an offensive kind of juggernaut or comeback against Mississippi State, and then following that up with Vanderbilt. Is this just a team? And Jerry and I were talking about, is this a team learning how to win? And then even though they make mistakes or have shortcomings, they're fighting through those? Because that's what it feels like to me. They're fighting through something, and that's just know-how. Like they're a young, inexperienced team, and they're fighting through and getting success because even in the face of major obstacles or missteps, they're breaking through and staying after it.
It's something we talked a lot about, Bobby, kind of earlier in the season, that this team would be better later. And I understand all the stuff around the portal and what could have been and how, but you even heard Sark, like, more times than not, his philosophy is, largely it's going to be a younger team. We're not going to bring in 20 guys a year. And so this is a team that's growing, and they're learning that they can win this way. They're having to do it without key pieces at times and just find a way. And there's value to that. There's something that, it kind of, it's like when you're lifting, right? And you're tearing down fibers to build the muscle back up. Like there's some callousing that comes with that really ends up helping pay dividends later in the season. And, I think I saw Dave Ashley in the chat mention it. As much as we're talking about Colin Simmons, as much as we're talking about, Anthony Hill, Ethan Burke is playing like a monster right now, right? Yeah. You have guys that are really stepping up and putting on tape what they're capable of. And that helps your team when those types of players are making big plays in big moments, because then it again, I'm telling you, man, it's like a feeding frenzy on defense. When one guy is making a play, the next guy is like chomping at the bit, almost trying to crawl over glass to get to the next one, right? And so it's something that you can't fully describe unless you're kind of witnessing it like from the inside out and feeling the momentum of it at times. And I think it's amazing, man. For all the struggles they had in the fourth quarter, that still gave those defenders some quality reps that at some point, if they have to go in down the line, it's not the first time they're in a moment like that. And that was kind of the case this Saturday. You said it yourself, Jerry. Jelani has been playing out of his mind. Well, now you don't have him in. You already didn't have Taff in. There's going to be a lot of problems there. Sure, I get it, but that benefits you later on if you can just find a way to get out of it. So absolutely, Bobby, to your point, man, they just are playing their way through it. They've heard all the criticisms. Now the challenge in this is you got a bunch of people patting you on your back again.
Yep.
Right. You got the Athletic coming out with a reverse of the art. Or, is it time to start considering Texas? Like, forget all of that, right? Like,
it's so predictable with Arch. It's been predictable for 2 years, by the way.
You called it. Yeah, just like Tiger Woods, right? They were going to criticize everything he does. So, yeah, man, they're just finding a way to play through it. And for me, I understand, the issues with, some of the stuff that happened in the end of the game. But I also would say there's been teams that we've seen in recent years that would have found a way to lose that one, right?
Yeah.
And somehow they didn't, they pulled it off.
And everything is the next test. The
Absolutely.
next test is now the biggest test because Texas hasn't played a really good game on the road yet.
Yeah.
They played a quarter and a half of good offensive football on the road.
Yeah.
Half of good defense on the road. They're going to have to play their best game of the season. And I'm not saying – somebody in the chat said none of us are saying Georgia is 21-22 Georgia defense. I don't think they're as good as they were last year. They're just really good at linebackers where they're good. Their secondary had some injury issues and some issues. Their defensive line, Christian Miller's a dude. But Jordan Hall went down against Florida. It looked like right knee. We'll see what the injury report says. I don't know if anything's come out if he's out for the season, but that's a starter for them. Kid I loved in high school. I thought the guy was a stud. Texas tried to recruit him. But Georgia's not as good as they have been on defense. That we know. But their linebackers are really dangerous. And that's the thing. You have to handle their linebackers. But Texas have to play their best game of the year in 2 weeks because Kirby is going to have his guys jacked up, and that Georgia crowd is going to be jacked up because they hate Texas.
Yeah. And, that was going to be my thing, Jerry, is I don't even though they look a little more gettable, Kirby has a switch, man. And he also understands, look, he knows some of the guys that are on this Texas team and some that are on the way from his backyard that he does not want to see them come into Athens like we did Alabama a few years ago and run over to the recruit section and say, hey, you need to come to Austin after a W, right? Like he's going to have those guys primed. So don't get it twisted. We're going to talk a lot about this game between now and kickoff. They're going to be ready to play. But what I was kind of discussing with Jeff some on our, kind of late after show on Saturday night was that's the carrot that Sark can continue to dangle in front of these guys is you still have not played a complete 4 quarters. And I can rip your tail all this week and going into next week to let you know, hey, if you don't come with it this following Saturday in Athens, you could get embarrassed, right? Yeah. Because this is a team that still has an ability to turn it on. And it just it's something that I really enjoy seeing, man, because they still have a lot out in front of them and you got to go game by game. But, it's always for me just, what if they do put it all?
And by the way, guys, this is a huge game for Sark himself because we talked about it. Sure. The narrative for him is out there. You're 0-2 against Day. You're 0-2 against DeBoer. You're 0-2 against Kirby. It's a big game for him because if he goes in and loses to Georgia, what are people going to say coming out of that game? What's the national media going to say? It's a huge game for Sark himself. I mean, not just the Texas team, but for Sark. Because this is, how badly he wants this one. Because what he doesn't want is to be 0-3 against Kirby, and then you don't play him for a couple of years unless you play him in the SEC title game. Then you're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
This from Dante Payne. Marcus was just as hated then was Texas just as hated then compared to now. The hate is real on social media. Witnessing grown men wanting Arch to fail is just insane to me. Social media was just burgeoning back when Marcus was playing.
Yeah,
now
look, man,
part of the world.
I was during the time where you had to have the school email address to be able to log into Facebook, and you weren't even getting text messages real time. So I don't think we felt it near the same way these guys do, and it's probably why. And I got to find a way to peel back on it, but it's probably why I remain as active as I am on these things on social media, because I don't think people have the best appreciation for what it's like when you're going through this stuff. I think it's like you said, like you got grown men out here like hurling insults at kids and calling for people's jobs. And it's wild to me, man, because I just don't, I don't agree with it. It's not something I would ever do. And I've said it before, like none of these people are going to say any of this stuff to anybody's face, and I was just raised like, if you're not going to say something to somebody's face, then you just don't say it because, something could come on the other end of that. But it wasn't as bad for us. I think we did feel it at times in the stands. Like I said, as much as, people have talked about like the times Arch got booed, I was on teams that won 10 games every year and we got booed. Like it happens because there are expectations that aren't realistic. There are people that think it's as simple as writing it down on paper. And because you have this accumulation of talent and whatever, it should be a particular way. But none of us, I don't recall any of us necessarily going out there aside from, heading into the 05 year, kind of just putting our chest out there and being like, hey, we're going to win it all. And, talking noise in a way that would bring the type of criticism or expectations. That's something that other people create. And then when it doesn't happen, they get frustrated. And, I don't agree with that.
On that topic, did you happen to run into Pavia's brother at any point in time?
No, I didn't run into that guy, but I don't think he wants to see me. So.
Marcus, thank you so much for your time, bud. Congrats again on being honored to have during the first quarter. Y'all certainly deserve it. And thanks for your contributions here to On Texas Football.
Yes.
We'll be back on Thursday night with a live stream with Rod. And,
get your hat, Marcus.
Yeah, you need a hat. Hey, Marcus had a styling cowboy hat.
I got a couple hats, Jerry. I don't have one like that, bro.
You want with the lights. Lights is the final piece here.
I don't know if I got one like that. My nieces would like that, so we'll see what I can come up with.
That's the giving time. It's the giving time.
Thanks, Marcus. Hook 'em on.
Thanks, Marcus.
All right, y'all. See you.
Appreciate it. Texas 7-2. Marcus Myers was there on the sidelines with some of his fellow teammates sharing his feedback for us. Thank you very much, Marcus. Blake, what do we have next, bud?
Well, first, we got to tell everyone this morning about the good folks at Huel. That's Huel, Huel. You ever have those mornings where you're running out the door, no time for breakfast? That was me pretty much every day. But now I've got Huel. It's my go-to. It has 35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no added sugar, and it's gluten-free. It's under $5 a meal, ready to go. I drink it daily. It keeps me sharp and not hangry. My energy is a lot smoother all day. There's no crash, no skipping meals, just solid focus. And now they've added the daily greens ready to drink to their lineup. And man, it tastes fresh, it tastes clean, and it's only 25 calories. You get 42 vitamins with that thing. You also get minerals, superfoods, 4 grams of fiber, and just 1 gram of sugar. It's the perfect morning pick-me-up or even that needed midday reset. If you're busy like me and you want healthy eating made simple, grab both of them. Huel's now in Target stores nationwide, or you can order online. Get 15% off your first purchase with code ONTEXAS at Huel.com/OnTexas. That's Huel, HUEL.com/OnTexas, promo code ONTexas. And that's Huel. Eat smart, stay fueled, keep it moving. And we're going to keep it moving by telling you about Prize Picks as well, because we make decisions daily. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. And Prize Picks is simple to play. You're just going to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get those picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. It's the best way to get in on sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and right here in the great state of Texas. And of course, it's Monday, so still waiting on a lot of those college football projections to come out today, but I'll be keeping my eye on that. But they don't have just college football. They got basketball, they got NFL, they even have esports. So no matter what your sport is, Prize Picks has you covered. All it takes is about less than 60 seconds to turn your sports opinions into real money. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code ONTexas to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code ONTexas to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And Jerry, if you don't mind, I'm going to let you tell everyone about one of our new sponsors, Culligan.
Yes, when it comes to water your family drinks and uses every day, you don't want to cut corners. That's why for over 90 years, people have trusted Culligan. And here in Austin, Culligan Ultrapure has been serving the community for more than 60 years, favorably, by the way. Culligan Ultrapure provides high-quality residential water treatment at an affordable price. including reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, and UV purification lights. Whether your water comes from a well or a municipal source, Culligan has the perfect treatment solution for your home. This is very important. And right now, you can schedule a free water test and save up to $600 when you mention On Texas Football. Culligan Ultrapure proudly serves Austin, Corpus, Victoria, Brownwood, Pampa, and Plainview. So don't wait. Call Michael at Culligan Ultrapure today at 512-339-2378 to schedule your free water analysis. That's 512-339-2378. Better water starts with Culligan. Hey, Blake, I got to bring something up real quick. Somebody has the username TAC1 and their 6-year-old got their computer. Starbucks guy or Lowe's will not arch menon. Somebody as kid got their whoever TAC1 is, your young son got their logged in under your username. Isn't in the chat. But thanks for being a part of the chat.
All right. We got some super chats. Got a few comments that I need to read. Let's start here from the top because there are a lot of them. Dante with another one. We appreciate it, Dante, and thank you for the earlier one too. Says, I suggest the DBs participate in the bullpen until they give themselves a concussion. They might play better afterwards. Arch has woken. Shout out to Cole.
Yep, Cole Hudson did a great job on Saturday.
Yep, definitely. And then we have one here from Jeff Carey. If Texas is in the top 11 ahead of OU, I think we could go 9-3, beat A&M, and get in the college football playoff. Does this make the first college football playoff committee rankings on Tuesday? And the answer is yes. That will be the first set of those, Jeff. And then
I don't know if a 3-loss Texas goes ahead of a 2-loss OU, even with the direct head-to-head win. Because OU does have one quality win out of conference, and that's against Michigan at this point.
Well, I mean, if Oklahoma wins at Bama and wins out, they deserve to be in.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. I do think I'll maintain this. What will be interesting if it comes to this, and if you've never, I said this in a post yesterday, if you've never cheered for Pitt Panthers football before, now's your chance. Order your hat on Amazon. Because if they beat Notre Dame at home in 2 weeks, and Pitt's a pretty good team, 7-2, they're pretty good. They can beat people. If Notre Dame takes a 3rd loss, then the whole thing opens up for maybe multiple 3-loss teams. It could be 2. I know some people like no chance a 3-loss team gets in. I don't know if the ACC is getting 2 in right now. That Georgia Tech loss at NC State's a body blow for that conference. And then, of course, Carson Beck, who now has 21 interceptions in the last 18 games. That's got to be worth $10 million in college football these days, right? But I'm not sure the ACC gets 2 in unless Virginia and Louisville both win out, play each other again in the ACC championship game, and Louisville avenges the loss. Then they could get 2 in. I'm not sure they get 2 in outside of that because it's going to be interesting to see. Then the Big 12, do they get 2 in? It is BYU and Tech play this weekend in Lubbock, I believe. So somebody's taking a loss. If Tech takes a second loss there, I think they're out unless they come back and beat undefeated BYU in the Big 12 championship game. Those are kind of the scenarios. Will one of those conferences actually earn 2 spots? Then if what happens in the college football playoff that gets really interesting is, let's say there's 4 SEC teams already in and there's 3 Big 10 teams in, and there's 1 3-loss spot available. Is the SEC going to get 5 and the Big 10 only get 3 in that scenario? Say it's 9-3 Texas, 9-3 USC. Does the SEC get 5 and the Big 10 get 3? Now that scenario would be interesting if Notre Dame wins out and one of the ACC Big 12 only gets 1 in. That's what's going to be interesting to me, is if it comes down to it and there's 2 9-3s and 1 9-3 team happens to get in for whatever reason. Would it be a 9-3 SEC as the 5th team over a 9-3 Big 10 as the 4th team? We'll see.
All right, and then we have some more comments. From Justin, said, had a funeral to go to, stayed off the grid. DirecTV recorded Skycast version, so I synced up the Watch Live cast, and all was good. OTF saved us.
Glad you liked it, Justin. Look, we had 80,000 some odd people join us for the Watch With Us this week. It was enormous. Hopefully, YouTube and Disney get it together for all of us college football fans here pretty quickly, because that was a little disappointing not being able to flip easily between games. Ended up having to buy a different subscription late on Saturday night to watch the games I want to watch. But all in all, let's see what happens. Glad you were able to catch up with Jerry, Aaron, Rod, and the guys, Coach Shipley, on the Watch With Us.
And then what we just discussed actually has quite a few comments here. Let's see here. First, we'll start with Jerry's. Jack Link says, I have a feeling the Florida loss is going to haunt us. 2026, baby. And then Dante says, hold on, Bobby. Texas beat 2 top 10 teams, OU and Vanderbilt. What other team in college football has done that? We have a chance to win 3. We should be a 9-3 team to get in. And on the deal, Rocky P here is asking if a 3-loss Texas team gets in over a 2-loss team.
Well, Texas has a chance to beat 4 because Georgia's going to, if Georgia loses to Mississippi State Saturday, they may not be ranked top 10 at the time. A&M's going to be ranked top 10. I know people are like, oh, A&M's going to choke. It's inevitable. I'm not sure I see that. If they beat Missouri on a 3rd-team quarterback this weekend in Missouri, South Carolina's a mess. Horrible offensive line. A&M may get 9 sacks in that game, even though they have one of the better athletic quarterbacks in the country. And then they have Samford. So if A&M beats Missouri this weekend, they're not going to do their usual November tank this year. They're going to be 11-0 going to Austin if they win this weekend. That's the reality of it. So Texas has a chance to beat 4 if Georgia handles their business against Mississippi State this weekend.
Yeah, the SEC thought it would have 2 really good games this weekend: A&M at Missouri and LSU at Alabama. Well, yeah. Missouri's down to its 3rd-string quarterback. That really shouldn't be a good game, frankly. No. A&M should wipe the floor with Missouri. LSU at Alabama, we all know what's happened at LSU. Versus or based on preseason expectations compared to now, Alabama theoretically should wipe the floor with LSU. Those 2 games should not be close. The one that we need to mention, Hugh Freeze, for those people that are unaware, was fired yesterday, the Auburn head coach. That makes 4 of the 16 teams in the SEC currently coachless. Florida, Arkansas, LSU, and now Auburn. 4 of 16. Interestingly, I don't know what to say about the number of coaches being fired this early in the process, but we'll see how it goes the rest of the way. I think that this weekend's matchups not big. The one that everybody's talking about that could decide the Big 12 is Texas Tech hosting BYU in Lubbock later this week.
Somebody asked, has there ever been this in the chat? Has there ever been this many coaches can early in the season? Absolutely not. And that's going to be continuing. And I think it's for multiple reasons. One, you have a December signing period, and we're now at the point where 75% of kids at the major schools are graduating high school early and enrolling. 75%. I don't know what the exact percentage is. There's probably been an article written, but Texas is at 80% every year at this point are coming in early. Then you only have one portal window. You don't have a spring portal window anymore. So you have to act quick. You have to act early with your college, with your coaching changes in football. And I don't think this is going to be a trend that changes. I think if you know, pull the plug. But here's where it gets interesting for me with all these jobs now. I mean, think about this. It's LSU, Florida, Auburn, Penn State. And the reason I rank Penn State 4th is the other 3 have won a national championship since Penn State did, and multiple in a lot of cases. You got to be careful getting caught in the wash of the coaching carousel and not making your hire. Like, can you really hang on and chase a coach in the playoffs anymore? Because you miss your high school signing period, and then you could really run into your portal window. So it's a gamble. It's going to be interesting. I think some people Like if Virginia Tech can go get James Franklin, they should go get James Franklin. I think that'd be a really good hire for them. He recruited the heck out of Virginia at Penn State. He will get talent there. I don't think you can afford to wait in this carousel and get caught up in the wash. If you have a guy you like, you better go get him.
More super chats this morning. This one from Colt. Thank you, Colt. How much credit do we give Mosley for the offensive improvement in recent weeks? Also, his perimeter blocking reminds me of Jordan Whittington.
He and DeAndre Moore definitely had big blocks on the wingo, big run to start the game. No doubt about it. I just think Mosley is a good, Jerry mentioned it at the outset, good 50-50 ball catcher, has a wider catch radius than Jordan Whittington, taller, longer, and he's sure-handed. I go back to something I've mentioned 5 times, 10 times now. I was talking to somebody about it yesterday inside the program. And look, 5 of the top 6 receivers for the Longhorns in this football season did not participate in spring ball. 5 of 6. Okay. And so only Parker Livingston participated in spring ball. No, I mean, heck, maybe even 6 or 7 if you count Jordan Washington. I mean, he didn't participate because he got injured. So no Emmett Mosley, no DeAndre Moore, no Ryan Wingo, no Jack injuries, no Trey Wisner, no Jordan Washington. I mean, if you really think about it, it makes sense that the offense and the passing game would take longer to produce. Now, I think part of that, too, is Steve Sarkisian understanding what his quarterback and receivers could do, as well as his offensive line. So it's not just any one factor, but Mosley's definitely part of that. I mean, he had no time with Arch, essentially, in the preseason. None. And so, because he came in injured and immediately sustained another injury. So this passing game there's more meat on the bone, believe it or not, even though it looked that good against the Vanderbilt.
And then Caden here says, I've been very critical of Sark this year. That was one of the best calls / executed offensive game plans against a quality opponent since the SEC championship. Did any quarterback on Saturday play better than Arch?
I'd have to go back and look. I mean, Arch had his best game as a Longhorn for sure.
Gunnar Stockton's playing really, really well right now. I mean, and I know, and he's not as sexy as Arch, if that makes sense from a stats perspective or how he plays, but within the confines of that offense, Jerry,
yeah,
very effective quarterback. Very, very effective quarterback. It definitely wasn't the 2 quarterbacks between Kentucky and Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, the one that immediately came to mind is, I mean, Julian Sand. 20.
Yeah, but he said SEC, I thought.
Oh, he says just SEC. Okay, I thought he meant around the country. Okay, yeah. Julian Sand was 20 of 23 for 316 and 4. Julian Sand's completing 81% of his passes this year. Woof! Wow, that's an amazing.
So what happens when there's no pass rush to get to him? Yeah, that is one of the things with the Big Ten that's interesting. I don't think they have teams that can rush the passer.
Yeah.
I mean, not the way that Texas and I mean, look, Texas A&M, and OU, right, are the top 3 sack teams in the country right now. Is that right, Blake?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that?
And UConn,
Texas A&M and OU. That teams in the SEC can get after the passer. I don't know that other conferences have. I mean, some do. I mean, some teams do. Ohio State does, for example. I'm not saying that no teams do. Oregon can, but other conferences don't have the depth of that the SEC does.
Let's see here. Saigi says, love the show like always, guys. Hoping our secondary improves at covering anybody. Arch is becoming an absolute boss, though. Hook him. And then Saigi did add he forgot to mention the O-line playing a lot better as well. So he wanted to throw that one in there. And Antonio Harris has been watching Georgia all year. They aren't the best in the secondary. Quick passes and let the playmakers make plays. Hook them.
Yeah, and they've had some injuries there as well on top of it. So that's why if you control the linebackers against Georgia, and Kiffin did, If you control the linebackers against Georgia, you can get at their defense, but you have to control their linebackers. Now, Christian Miller, again, their defensive front is not what it was last year. Christian Miller's a really good player. I mean, they lost 5 of their top 6 off of that group last year. Michael Williams, then Brinson and Stackhouse. They're big bodies inside against the run. They're not as good as they were last year. Now Jordan Hall's probably out. But their linebackers are the real deal, even after losing their best player on the football team, Jalen Walker, last year. Their linebackers are all really good. If you control their linebackers, then you move the football on Georgia this year. But that's the first part that Texas, because the linebackers were really the ones that gave Texas the issues last year. And that's really what you have to control, especially, the horizontal passing game's tougher because Georgia's linebackers cover that space and eat that space. Those guys are hard to block on the move like that. So you have to control. If you control their linebackers, you can get them false stepping. You can control their A-gap blitzes, and they're going to bring A-gap blitzes against Texas. If you can pick those guys up, then you will have success against Georgia this year.
All right, Bobby, why don't you tell people how they can control their bad vision with our new sponsor?
If anybody needs it, it's those SEC officials. I'm kidding. Hey, guys, we are sponsored by Warby Parker, and we appreciate them very much. If you're like me, when it comes to eyewear, you need a high-quality, easy solution that's also affordable. That's why I use Warby Parker. Easy, affordable, and the selection just can't be beat. Glasses start at $95 and include prescription lenses as well as anti-reflective scratch-resistant coatings. Save 15 or add a pair. If you get 2 pair, you save 15% when you buy 2 or more prescriptions, pairs of sunglasses or regular glasses, free shipping and free 30-day returns. Warby Parker has over 300 locations to help you find your next pair of glasses. You can also head over to warbyparker.com/ontexas right now to try on any pair virtually. That's how I did it. It's a really cool feature. That's warbyparker.com/ontexas, warbyparker.com/ontexas. Want to add one more fact about this. They do have progressive lenses, which is something that I needed and was able to get really easily. Again, that's Warby Parker, and here they are. Right here. Actually, I have them in my hand, Blake. Let me show people. They have the silhouette version, all good stuff there from them as well.
And tell us about Mint Mobile as well, Bobby.
I could do that. I tell you that we use the things that we talk about. Mint Mobile is one of those things we use. I sent my son off to college with this mobile plan, mintmobile.com. Use the code on Texas as well to get going with that. Mint Mobile is the place to take your self when you need a new mobile or wireless plan. With Mint, you can get the coverage and speed you're used to, but for way less money. And for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for just $15 a month. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling literally and financially. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas. Upfront payment of $45 is required. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Get that Mint Mobile going, and it'll cheapen your wireless bill.
I got to bring one up real quick, Blake. This is an amazing number. Jeff Carey always brings us the viewership. 45.8 million for Game 7, the World Series. Woo! It's a big number. What's the record for Game 7 of World Series? I want to answer a couple of recruiting questions. I'm just going to go really quick here on this. Let me get down. I hear we see y'all's. Okay, Nathaniel Loper says, "Who's the wide receiver out of NOLA they offered Saturday?" That's Eastern Rural. Texas had already offered him. He was on campus. He's one of the fastest guys in the country. He'll probably run 10 threes this spring. He's out of New Orleans. I believe that's brother Martin, the same high school that DJ Augustine went to before Katrina, before the family settled in Houston, and he went to Hightower.
He's a 2027, by the way, not a 2026.
He's a 2027 guy. Let's see. And then there was a couple other recruiting questions.
What about Bryson Martinez, Jerry?
Well, okay. So Jose Rodriguez I'm going to get to him in a second. Is Texas still actively recruiting the Sunshine State for raw skill talent? Yes, absolutely. I do think the Florida hire will be interesting. Like if Lane ends up going to Florida, I'm not saying he is. If he is, then that'll make it a little tougher to recruit offensive guys in Florida that are really good, I believe. But then you have what's going on at FSU, and then you have Miami not coming through once again. So that state stays in flux. But yes, Texas absolutely is. They have more time, resources, I mean, foot traffic on the ground, time spent in Florida in that state than ever before. And I think that's going to continue for sure. And then on Bryson Martinez, we'll see. I mean, look, he committed. He's 35 minutes down the road from LSU. I think what'll be interesting about Texas feels like they have a shot. We'll see. Yeah, you should take credit. It's not happening. Texas believes they have a shot at Martinez. I think he will. As somebody's saying in the chat, he's expected to come back for an official visit. What's going to be interesting with the guys that committed to LSU, because they've always wanted to go to LSU, is are they going to have to sign with a little blind faith, Bobby? Is LSU going to have a hire before signing day? It's one thing to have Frank Wilson, who's great at recruiting, a New Orleans guy, one of the legends in recruiting in that state, if not the legend. It's one thing for him to tell you and talk to you and recruit you. It's another thing to know who your head coach is going to be, who your OC is going to be, who the DC is going to be. Does the scheme fit me? Where's the program headed? What's going on with the AD? There's a lot going on at LSU right now. So it'll be interesting to see the kids that really committed to LSU because that's where they wanted to go, and they always wanted to go there. Are they going to have to sign on blind faith? I don't know the answer.
Well, if they want a coach that's going to be involved in the college football playoffs, the answer is most likely yes, Jerry. And they seem to have their sights, at least to some degree, set on Lane Kiffin.
Yep.
Who, at least as of right now, looks like he has a straight path to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And he may still say no to them.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. It's certainly something that's going to be difficult for some players to reckon with. But to your point, a lot of those guys have grown up wanting to go to school there.
Yeah.
And some of them went there in spite of Brian Kelly recently. Yep. So it's not like it's not new to them in some way.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do, because as signing day gets closer, that's a little different pressure. And I know what does signing day mean anyway, you can get out of your letter, but I think the bigger thing for me is the vast majority of these guys are early enrollees now. And that puts a little pressure on you when you start really coming to, okay, I'm signing a letter of intent, I'm signing my grant and aid papers, and I'm sending them in to LSU, and I don't know what this situation is going to look like for me. That's going to be interesting to see what some of these kids do.
Yeah, you can't transfer after you enroll, though.
That's right.
So there's not a transfer window for that.
We got a big super chat right here from Zach Harvey. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate that $100 super chat. He says,
there you
go. Anyone remember the Bama game in 2023? We'll go into Athens and shock them dogs. Hogs will be a blowout. Then it's BTA, belt to butt, on little brother. Hook 'em.
I love that Texas has an off week and Georgia's has a road trip. I like that Georgia's played emotional Florida game, which, look, Florida has talent. That was a tight game all the way through. Florida probably caught that football. Probably did. But then they have to go to Mississippi State. And the thing about Texas learned at Mississippi State, Tennessee learned at Mississippi State. This isn't doormat Mississippi State. Mississippi State believes they can win.
Hey, they won their first game against Arkansas this weekend.
How about we haven't talked about Arkansas getting 18 penalties for 195 yards, a record. Oh, my gosh.
One of them was against Bobby Petrino, by the way.
Yeah. 8 penalties for 195.
Hey, Zach, all I can say to your comment here is from your mouth to God's ears. I'm all about all of that happening right now. So, yeah, thank you so much for the super chat, Zach.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate that. All right, guys, we got more super chats to get to. Let's see here. Let's do this one from Q Snipes because I've been meaning to get to it for a little bit now. He says, drinking some Erie Island dark roast feels like slight change in philosophy over these last 2 weeks. Still a physical team, but they've been relying on the offense more than the defense. What do y'all think?
It's true. I think it's true. They have been relying more on the offense. They wouldn't have beaten Mississippi State or Vanderbilt without an offensive explosion of sorts. Correct? So I think that gives me, and it's not because I think the Texas defense is bad here, by the way. I think the Texas defense is quite good. I think they were hurt last week by the absence of both Jelani McDonald and Michael Taft. One of those guys being out, okay. Both of them being out, that's a problem. That's a problem. By the way, I want to say this. I've been here in Austin, still in Austin right now for the last several days. I've been drinking Medici roasting. Medici coffee. That's good stuff. That's what I've been having this week, over the weekend stuff. Try it if you haven't already.
I got to respond though, Dean Nizer here. Did you see Carson Beck throw that dart to the SMU DVD? Yes, I did. And then I saw him blame his play caller after the game 2 weeks after blaming his receivers. Money well spent, Miami. 21 interceptions in his last 18 games. I'm not sure I've ever seen a quarterback at a high level at college football throw 21 over 18 games. Now he went from blaming receivers to the play caller. I can only do what the plays are called.
We got a couple more super chats regarding officiating. Roy Hinosa, thank you for yours. Says, what's the point of reviewing a play if you still get it wrong, even after suspending a crew earlier this year? This crap still happens. Hook them. And then let's see here. Rocky P says, still can't get over Colin Simmons getting held and blocked in the back on the same play in front of the refs for a no call. Did your mark take over the SEC? Sankey needs to do an overhaul.
So first of all, I'm in agreement with Roy, and I did see what Rocky P was saying, and this is a fair question. And it's not just, I'm talking about Rocky P's overhaul of college football officiating. The 2-point conversion included there, Bobby's Mayo spreader. The thing that I'm getting at with this is, do we need a national consortium of referees? Does it need to be a full part of the problem with football refereeing at the collegiate level? It's not a full-time job. If you're a college basketball official, it's pretty much a full-time job. It's not in college football. So how could we create something where the officials would be full-time employees and held to certain standards? You could easily replace them, etc. I don't know if you can do that in college football. Not unless you shared them with like NFL officials or something like that. And I just don't know if that's possible. But we got to do something. Jerry mentioned earlier a look-in or a live feed like they do in the ACC with the television announcers actually just tapping into what the replay officials are talking about and how they're discussing the situation. That might bring more transparency. But I think everybody agrees something has to be done. The SEC just they basically took one of their refereeing units off the field for the entire season because of their actions. So this team that we just had is not even the worst. The other team that's worse just got kicked out. So how do we improve that? How does that get improved? I don't know.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild this year too, because look, Hugh Freeze deserved to get fired. Okay. But if you win that Oklahoma game and you win that Georgia game, things are totally different. And I think the officials are having too much they're not just having an effect on some wins and losses right now. They're not having an effect on who gets fired and who doesn't.
Yeah. Who goes to the playoffs and who doesn't?
They're now part of causing the massive buyouts.
Yeah. The non-call against Oklahoma on that pass interference, it's very similar to the non-call on pass interference against Texas. contact made well before the ball gets there, jersey ripped, guy hit from underneath. They need. There's a lot of aspects. I mean, holding needs to be called better. It's a mess. It's not ideal, but it's the best we have right now. We'll see. I'd love to know who the crew is for Georgia. That's going to be University of Texas versus the University of Georgia and the SEC officials. We'll see.
All right. Kate Stewart says, y'all told me a few weeks ago, but if we win out and Arch keeps playing like this, he will absolutely be back in the Heisman combo for top 10 wins. I don't know about that.
Too early, Cade. Too early.
That'd be tough right now.
Yeah.
Saying and Mendoza are way out in front.
Yeah, I think Mendoza is freaky good right now.
And Joshy Manning says tight ends are proving to be a real problem for us. How do you all think we for Oscar Delt next week?
That's a good point. And they
Ty Anthony Smith, if he's going to be in the game, needs to know where the tight end is. He lost him a couple times on Saturday. I think Joshy's correct in that you're going to identify some things that are trends. And Texas giving up plays to the tight end has been a trend the last 4 weeks now, actually. The thing that I would say as it relates to the tight ends is every defense is going to give up something. They just are, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're the 85 Bears, you're giving up something. Would you rather be giving up the ball over the top like Texas did, or giving up 5-10-yard plays to the tight end? And there's something you're going to give up something as a defense. You just are, especially later in the season.
And then our next super chat this morning comes from Sugarcane Daddy. Says Aggie's biggest win is against early season Notre Dame. They played 4 teams that have had their coaches fired. Seems their easy schedule gets ignored.
Yeah, they're undefeated. They deserve it right now. They deserve any and all recognition they get. My hope is that when the regular season ends, they're looking at an L in Austin. Yeah. And as long as that happens, everything's fine with me. Everything's good with the world, Sugarcane Daddy.
Yeah. All right, Bobby, one more time. Tell us about Longhorn Wealth Management Group.
I can do it. John Donovan, the president of Longhorn Wealth Management. As a proud Texas Exes Life member, John served for 15 years as a Dallas Texas Exes chapter board member, is now helping lead the build-out of the Collin County Texas Exes chapter. John wants to remind all OTF fans in Collin County to reach out to John to get on the Texas Exes email list for their upcoming game watch events and more. John also wants to recognize that November is National Alzheimer's Awareness Month. John is offering a free 90-minute private consultation to review and analyze your risk management profile and existing plans to assess how well protected you and your family are from the financial ravages that can accompany battling such debilitating and cognitive medical conditions. So to schedule your free 90-minute consultation, simply call the Longhorn Wealth Team 972-707-4900 or go online, www.longhornwealth.net. Thanks from John and the Longhorn Wealth Management team.
Thank you, Bobby. All right, we got, I think, one other super chat to get to, or 2 more to get to. And let's start with David Parcell. Texas basketball plays tomorrow. Says he'll throw it to you, Jerry.
I put out a report on Texas football yesterday that it's trending positively towards Matas and Lucina playing. Matas, they held both those guys out, the 2 closed-door scrimmages, closed-door air quotes for the podcast, scrimmages. Matas is an ankle that had some swelling. Lucina coming off the knee, just some soreness with that. So they really want him to be ready. I think that is key for the game. Look, Duke's favored by 7.5 for a reason. And I posted the other day, one of the things I'm watching for is I'm watching Texas over the first 10 games in how they shoot the ball, how they shoot the three, how fast in their fast execution offense are they able to get into that. And that's more than Duke. That's the Maui Invitational. And then that's the teams that aren't as good, but still being able to execute. That's what I'm really watching for here with this Texas team is what is this style of play? If I'm a Texas fan, I'm looking, what is Sean Miller going? How is he going to play? Is that going to be an inviting style of play? In as far as the team this year, and I think it is, by the way. And as far as the team this year, I think the guys being able to they got to hit 35, 36% from three to maximize this team and really, I think, do what they want to do. And that means guys like Simeon Wilcher have to have big improvement years from last year at St. John's, which I think he will. That means Kendall Weaver won't take many, but he's still got to be a threat. I think he'd be maybe the most improved player playing without the basketball. I think you're going to see more guys score without the ball, be in position to score without the ball versus the last couple of years. But I think it's going to come down to perimeter shooting for Texas. And then Matas had one of the highest foul rates in the country last year in his first year of college basketball. What does that look like in year two? Because he's playing against more athletic players now that are second jump guys more so than he even played against last year. But I think Matas, those guys will improve. I think Sean Miller's a really elite basketball coach. I think Texas is going to have a really good program under Sean Miller. I think Duke's favored by 7.5 for a reason. Let's go see if Texas shocks them.
And our final one for today. I have no clue on this one, but David Parcell wants to know Cowboys Cardinals, who wins tonight?
Is Kyler Murray playing or not? Do we know? I think he's not playing, right?
I was about to say, I thought I saw something that said he wasn't.
Yeah. I'll go Cowboys. Let's see what happens.
I'll be watching college basketball tonight. We got some good games on. Florida, they're playing the Vegas tournament in Vegas. Florida's playing tonight. I'll be watching a little college hoops. Rick St. Charles, is Texas a tournament team? We'll have to see. I mean, look, it's not a given. That's the one thing I'll say. It's not a given. I think they can be for sure, but it's not a given. I'm just going to tell this to people that think, oh, it's a portal day and age, so you should just go win automatically. Danny Hurley didn't make the tournament his first year at UConn. Todd Golden didn't make the tournament his first year at Florida. Rick Pitino didn't make the tournament his first year at St. John's. Chris Beard didn't make the tournament his first year at Ole Miss. Mick Cronin his first year at UCLA. Those are all in the portal era. Like, I know people just think, oh, it's just add water, instant victories, but it's still not. These guys have to build a program. They have to build a program. You can get in the tournament year one, great, but it's far from a guarantee, even for some of the best coaches in our game right now.
Sounds like football.
Just a little perspective there.
Sounds a little bit like football. Hey, a couple other notes. The women's volleyball team lost 2 over the weekend, as we're talking about other sports than football. They lost on Friday night, a heartbreaker in College Station to A&M. And then yesterday they got swept by Kentucky. So the women's volleyball team takes their first 2 losses of the season in back-to-back matches. We'll see how they rebound this week. Also, Vic Schaefer and his women, I think they have their opener tonight. So make sure you're checking out Texas women's basketball as well.
Yeah. All right, Bobby, what do you have?
Arizona. I'll be watching Florida, Arizona, and hoops, baby.
There you go. What you got for folks to watch here later today?
Well, at around 11 o'clock, we got Bob Shipley joining me for lunch with the coach. Always enjoy that. I'm sure he's going to have some interesting perspectives. I'm going to ask him whether or not he suffered a heart attack on his 65th birthday in that fourth quarter. Jerry, a little bit. Going to talk to him about that. Also, we got Steve Sarkisian at the mic around 11 o'clock today. Jeff Howe, as well as CJ Vogel, will be in attendance for that. Should have some players availability as well. So we'll be listening in to see what they have to say about the game against Vanderbilt and looking forward to the rest of the season. Then this afternoon, Jerry and I get together for Talking Ball, followed by Rod, Coach Shipley, and CJ Vogel tonight on the live stream. Each and every night, by the way, Sunday through Thursday, we have a live stream from 7 to 8, about 7:15 to 8:15, actually. Make sure you guys check it out in the evening. That's it. That's what I got, Blake. That's all.
Hey, that's a lot. That's a lot.
And we'll see if Sark talks on injury stuff, but we do expect Wingo Taff. I mean, that's the expectation right now, barring setbacks.
Yeah, Wingo's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I think Taft will be fine too. He tried to go this week.
And Jelani should be fine as well. But we'll let Sark talk on that for sure.
Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow morning. Hope you all have a phenomenal day today. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.